Hey there, guys. This is PreAlgebra. We're talking about page 35 today, so please make sure that you're updating your table of contents. And page 35 is going to be y equals mx plus b, or slope-intercept form. So we have done y equals mx, which we did with proportional linear relationships, but now we're adding b. And you're probably wondering, well, what in the world is b? Some of you don't know what that means, and some of you do. So we'll be flipping over to page 35, and today's notes that you should have been handed, you can either cut these out and make it fit your page, or as you can do what I've always done before is just fold this up. Just don't fold it all the way completely closed, because then you can't see what the notes are about. So the notes today are lesson 3-6, y equals mx plus b. And this is what your page should look like. And so we have a little snippet here, slope-intercept form. And it says proportional linear relationships, and we talked about that the other day, can be written in the form y equals mx. And that's where we didn't have the b. And everything always flowed and followed through 0, 0, the point of origin. Non-proportional linear relationships that are not proportional can be written in the form y equals mx plus b, where b can never be 0. And so in this case, the line is not going to be traveling through 0, 0 anymore. It'll be traveling through another point on the y-axis, and that's what gives us our b. And this is called slope-intercept form. And if you don't understand this, slope-intercept, which means intercepts the y-axis, it's where the slope hits the y-axis. When an equation is written in this form, m is our slope, and b, the second part, is where it hits the y-axis on the graph. And we'll talk about that further. So in this situation, we know that y equals mx plus b. Now, this is always the form. However, this m is slope, so we've got slope right there. But if you notice, this b happens to be a -4. And so what you have to understand is that it doesn't always have to be mx plus b. It could be mx minus b, or plus a negative, and we have to think about that. And so y doesn't have to always be a positive intercept. It can be a negative as well. So just some key words to plug in here, and we kind of gave you some fill-in prompt notes. But slope, which is referred to as my m value here, is always the number in front of what? And that's in front of x. So the slope is always attached. It's your changing a value. It's the constant rate of change, so that x is changing from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to decimals, whatever. The b, or the y-intercept, is always the number what? Blank and x. It's the one without the x, and the one without the x is our b. It is found when x equals 0, and so that means when I graph it, I will get an ordered pair of 0, comma something, and that y right there will be my b. So it's going to be your starting value on your graph or on your table, where 0, it might not be 0, 0. Well, it's probably not going to be 0, 0, because then it would be y equals mx. It's going to have some kind of b where it's shifted on the y-axis. So write an equation when the slope is -3 and the y-intercept is -4. You just say m equals -3, y equals -4, and I plug it into my formula up here, -3x minus 4. I don't do plus 4 because this is a negative, so -4, which is the same as adding a -4, but let's keep it simple. When you have a table or a graph that's given, we know to linreg, and I've said that repeatedly, even on the last test that you took. Pick 2 points, use your linreg. It will automatically calculate for you your a and your b, and all you have to do is plug it into the equation. Remember, a is your slope, and b will be your y-intercept. It's where the graph is beginning on that y line. So to calculate slope, could you also divide y over x and find the y-intercept just when it hits on the table? And that's another way to do it as well. But just remember, y always equals mx plus b. So all we're doing is adding the b to our y equals mx. I'm going to do several examples for you just to help you with the assignment. And some of you like to stop your notes right now and not keep watching. I highly suggest you watch, especially those of you at home who should be watching this to help you with the classwork. So we've got the form y equals mx plus b. And I went ahead and I'm going to attach these example notes for you as well. So if you want to follow along, you can. I would not glue these into your journal. They're just examples. So I'm going to put this into the form. It tells me slope is 1. Slope should be m. So I'm going to write 1x. But instead of writing 1x, because really, honestly, 1x is just x, I don't need to do that. Then it's just going to be y equals. I'm just going to have x, and I'm sorry this is not focusing. It doesn't like my pen there. Y equals x, and then I have an intercept of 4, so it's just plus 4, and we're done. So let's look at this next example over here on number 5. It says the slope is -5, y-intercept is 1/2. That means I've got y equals, my slope is -5x, my y-intercept is 1/2, and it just looks like that. I mean, you're just plugging basically into the formula. This one says my slope is -1/3. I'm going to have y equals -1/3 x, and then I'm going to have plus 4, and I'm done. Let's go to number 7. The slope is 2. So y equals, my slope is 2, that'd be 2x minus 1. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about what that means when you're graphing it. So when you're graphing it, all that means is that on the y-axis, I'm starting at 0, -1. On this y-axis, I'm starting at 0 and 1/2. On this y-axis, I'm starting at 0, 4. So that tells you where it hits the y line. So if you're taking a look at this problem right here, where does it hit the y line? Well, it hits at 0 when x is 0, and at -1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, this tells me my b. That's my b. Now, what is my slope? Well, you can just put this in the calculator too, but it's my rise over run. So I rise how far? 1, 2, run 1, 2. So this is a rise of 1, run of 2. I'm sorry, rise of 2, run of 2. Rise of 2, run of 2. So my slope here is 2 over 2, but actually if you look at it a little closer, there's steps in between. So it's really 1 to 1 or just 1. So slope is 1. So my equation would be y equals x, because there's just one slope of x, and then minus 4, because that's where it's telling me it hits the y-axis. And this should be a positive slope, because I remember my slope guy and which way my slope should be going. So if you notice, all 3 of these are positive. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and find this point. And it looks like we have this point up here. And again, where is it hitting the y-axis? It's hitting it at 0, -3. And I rise 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, run 1, 2, 3. So rise of 6, run of 3. That's my slope. Try it again. Rise 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. And that's going to reduce to 2 to 1, or just simply 2, 2. So y equals, my equation of my line is y equals 2x minus 3, and there's my equation of my line. Now you're probably saying, well, can I use my graphing calculator? So we're going to pull our graphing calculator out for just a minute, and we're going to go ahead and calculate this with a calculator. Now to do that, you need 2 points. So if I just pick 2 points, and it doesn't matter which 2 I pick, so I think I'll pick 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 4, 0, and I know this is 0, -4. I hit my stat button, edit, and I'm going to go ahead and just put in these 2 points. So I have the point 0, that's going to stay there, and I'm going to have -4, so I'm going to put -4 there. And then my other point is right up here, 4, enter, 0, enter, and I'm going to go ahead and stat, calculate, 4, enter, 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 and I wind up getting my equation. Now, the thing is, you have to know where A goes, and it tells you that A goes here. So that'd be 1x. 1x is just x. And then minus 4, that's my negative b. And there's my equation right there. Okay, so that's another way to check it. So I'll go through this one more time. So we had the point 0, -3 here. And 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. This is the point 3, 3. And I'll see if I'm right. And this is a great way to check yourself. So stat, enter. My 2 points are 0. I'm going to leave that there, -3. And then my other point is, what did I have? 3, 3. And I'm going to put my 3, hit my stat button, calculate 4 for, and some of you aren't seeing this, the 4 for linreg, enter, 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 enter. And I wind up getting A is 2. So I have Y equals 2x. There it is, 2x minus 3. And there's my equation. All right, so number 12, and this is just great practice. I've got a point here, I've got a point here, I've got a point here. Doesn't matter which points you use at all. Just a reminder, where does it hit the y-axis? Well, it's hitting the y-axis right there at 0, 1. That means that my B is a 1. I hope you're catching on. And so I'm going to rise 1, run 1, 2, 3. Let's try it over here. Rise 1, run 1, 2, 3. Another positive slope again. So this is a rise of 1, run of 3. And so my slope is 1/3. So I write y equals 1/3 x plus 1. And I'm done. And if you're not sure if it's correct or not, you can plug that back in with or do stat with the 2 points here and do your linear regression and see what you get. And I'll let you do that on your own. A couple more examples and we're almost done. This one says graph the equation using the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, so first of all, slope is 4. It tells me right there, and it tells me my B is -2. That means that on my y-axis, it's going to be located at 0, -2. So I put my point there, 0, -2. I'm going to rise 1, 2, 3, 4, run 1. And you're probably saying, why is it run 1? Well, because it's 4 over 1. I'm going to rise 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, can't quite graph that. It goes there. And I'm going to rise negatively 1, 2, 3, -4, and then run 1. And so my graph is kind of looking like that. Sorry, my phone keeps trying to challenge. And I should be using a straight edge, and we'll connect those points right there. Okay, so we've graphed it. And guys, try to use a straight edge. I'll grab mine out right now. I didn't do a very pretty job, so when you've got a chance, grab a piece of paper or some edge and make this better. That's so much better. Okay, number 14. So I'm noticing that my slope here is -3/2. I notice that my B is 1. That means that it's crossing at 0, 1 on the y-intercept. So 0, 1. And by the way, you can graph these on your graphing calculator and check it out. So rise of -3, 1, 2, 3, and then run 2. So this graph should be looking, when I look at slope guy, angling the other way. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, go backwards, 1, 2, 3, up, 2 to the left. Okay, and then you're going to play connect the dots with your points. And hopefully I did a good job with that. And there's our line. And that's graphing it. One other thing you're going to have to do is take a table of values and plug it in. And so we're going to try a couple examples here. So let's say I have 0 and -3, 6 and 2, 12 and 7, and 18 and 12. And I say, okay, write an equation. Well, here is my 0, -3. So automatically, that's my B. My B's there. If it's not there, you can find it in your graph and use it. Okay, so I know I'm going to have y equals something x -3, because that -3 means -3. So I need my slope. So all I have to do is plug this in. Now what you can do is you can put y over x. Some of you remember. I can put 2 over 6 or 7 over 12 or 12 over 18. I may not see the pattern though. So did you also see that it's increasing by 5, increasing by 5, and here it's increasing by 6. So actually it's a change in y over a change in x. So it'd be 5 over 6. So it should be 5, 6. So you can't do it the other way. It doesn't work as pretty. So we're going to do stat, edit. We're going to go ahead and put in 2 points. And I'm going to go ahead and leave the 0, -3 because it's already there. And I'm going to go over here and put 6, 2. Now, I don't have to choose 6, 2. If I want to choose 12 and 7, I can go right ahead. But I'll go ahead and pick 6 and 2. And I'm going to go ahead and hit, stat. I'm going to hit calculate 4, enter, 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 enter. And it gives me that crazy looking 0.8333. If you put 0.833 in your calculator, you will find, and reminder on how to do that, because some of you can't remember, There is a repeating bar notation, but that actually is 5/6. If you don't believe me, we can actually go ahead and clear this. Take 5 divided by 6, and you get the same repeating decimal. So I knew that the change in y over the change in, change in x, excuse me, is 5/6. So therefore, my slope is 5/6. So 5/6x minus 3. So some simple ways. You can do lin/reg here too if you want to check it. But lots of different ways to check your answers. Just be using the information and checking it out. One more thing, and I know this is long-winded, you're going to have a problem-solving page that looks like this. And in the case of the word problems, when it says the Ace Car Rentals charges $20 per day, this is your changer. And remember, X, each, every, per. Each, every, per, you're talking X. Okay, so anytime you see each, every, per, we're talking X. And then plus a $10 service fee. This is a one-time fee. This is your B, my friends. This is where it's starting on the y-axis. So when you have the equation, it's already written out right there. You can actually see it. That means that my B, the 10, will be starting here, and I'm going to be increasing $20 per day. So that's a rise of 20, run of 1. So I'm going to rise 10, 20, run 1. Rise 10, 20, run 1. And that's how your graph is going to look. So graph the equation I just did. What do the slope and y-intercept represent for you? So what does the slope represent? Well, the slope is how much it costs me per day. So I'm going to write that down here. Slope equals cost per day. And then it says, what's the y-intercept represent? So the y-intercept, and that's where it crosses here, is basically my service fee. So that's service fee, and that's for the $10 that you're paying, and you pay this only once. So this is one-time fee. And just remember that that's what you're adding, okay? So when we say y equals 20x plus 10, that's what we're looking at. Explain how to use your graph to determine the total cost of renting a compact car for 7 days. So basically what that's saying is I want to know when x is 7, what is y? And so this is where I say, hey, my friends, your graphing calculator is really helpful. So for this one, you can actually hit y equals, and you can plug in your 20x. So I'm going to do 20x, and the x button is there, and then plus 10. And then if you actually go ahead and do a table of that, so you hit second table, you'll actually get a series of x and y values, and then mine's kind of down a little bit. But if you go here for 7, when x is 7, it actually tells you what y is. And the reason I say go this way for it is because if you look at the graph and you go for 7, I actually can't even see it on the graph graphed here. So I had to go into my table to actually look at that. So I'll do that one more time so you see it. So I have my y equals right here, and you're going to type in 20x plus 10, and then you're going to do second graph. Second graph. See where it says table right there. And then you're going to scroll up and down till you hit when x is 7, y is 150. And so determine the cost. So my cost is $150 for 7 days. And so that's it. Okay, I'm not going to do any more of this. This assignment, the rest of it will be yours, and you'll be putting your answers in quizzes. So if you watch this video today, you are set. Take care.